All praises, all praises, all praises to the heavenly creator of eternity, infinity, the universe, the stars, the earth, the oceans, the mountains, the seas, the valleys, the clouds, all creeping things, humanity, and all there is. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. Happy Holy Sabbath, family. Once again, we are honoring and respecting and revering the holy power of all for another 7 days of the gift of breath and life. And my family, as always, it is my pleasure, my privilege, my honor to be with you so that we may all be together in this consensual assembly to absorb the heavenly cosmic communication of information for our personal soul salvation. All praises. And to the scattered tribes of the house of Israel, wherever you may be on planet Earth, I love you. I love you. I love you. Wherever you may be, my continuous petition in prayer for your care and safety. And to my brothers and sisters of the world, the pending Israelites who call themselves the melanated and Moors, the original men and children of God, the copper-colored, the people of color, the aboriginal and indigenous, the natives, Negroes and niggas, the African Americans and blacks, the descendants of slaves, and those conquered and colonized. All right, family, we are here today on this day of rest so that we may contemplate and comprehend the holy word of the power of all imagination and creation. We are here to expose those cranial universes so that we may prick at the area between the pituitary and the pineal, the area where we will concentrate this coordination all amongst the cerebellum and cerebrum, as we also have our souls exposed for the heat and the fire of these precepts of perfection. Oh, yes. And so we will be continuing our review of Holy Brother Prophet King Solomon, son of King David, the kings of Israel, as we were reviewing the rebuke of the word of the Lord against Holy Brother Prophet Solomon for his idolatry and loving many strange women and building idols and groves to false pagan wicked gods of the other nations. And so we began by seeing an adversary become generated through the powers of the Holy One against Brother King Solomon. And that was Hadad, an Edomite who had escaped the slaughter of Joab, one of the captains of the army of the nation of Israel. And he ran and sought refuge in Egypt under the Pharaoh and found favor with Pharaoh. So we will continue to look at the prospective splitting of the 12 tribes as one nation of Israel under King Solomon. And we began at the Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit standards. The fireplace is crackling, crackulating. The cocoa is chocolatey. The tea is sweet and lemony. So as you find your space in the place and you become still and quiet, and we are all in the chorus of love care, concern, and compassion. We began in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Followed by our second eternal standard in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 8, in reference to the holy anointed Messiah, the Redeemer, the Wonderful, the Savior, the King of Israel, whom the world refers to as Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. All right, family, as you know, that is our sword and our shield, and we steady our shoulders and we strengthen our knees and we clench our sword, we point our shield, we dip our heads, and we head into the spiritual battle to defeat darkness and worldly ignorance. And we are in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verses 19 through 43. And Hadad found great favor in the sight of Pharaoh, so that he gave to him wife, the sister of his own wife, the sister of Tahpenes, the queen. And the sister of Tahpenes bare him Gunabath, his son, whom Tahpenes weaned in Pharaoh's house. And Gunabath was in Pharaoh's household among the sons of Pharaoh. And when Hadad heard in Egypt that David slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the captain of the host, was dead, Hadad said to Pharaoh, let me depart, that I might go to mine own country. Then Pharaoh said unto him, but what hast thou lacked with me, that behold, you seek to go to your own country? And he answered, nothing. Howbeit, let me go in any wise. And God stirred him up another adversary, Rezon, the son of Eladah, which fled from his lord Hadadezar, the king of Zobah. And he gathered men unto him and became captain over a band when David slew them in Zobah. And they went to Damascus and dwelt therein and reigned in Damascus. And he was an adversary to Israel all the days of Solomon, beside the mischief that Hadad did. And he abhorred Israel and reigned over Syria. Verse 26, and Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephratite of Zerida, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zeruiah, a widow woman. Even he lifted up his hand against the king. And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Solomon built Millo and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass that at the time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, and the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon and will give 10 tribes to you. Verse 32, but he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, because that they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Shemash, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Howbeit I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand and will give it unto you, even 10 tribes. And unto his son I will give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. And I will take you, and you shall reign according to all your soul desireth, and shall be king over Israel. And it shall be, if you will hearken unto all that I command you, and will walk in my ways and do that which is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with you and build you a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Israel unto you. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever. Verse 40. Solomon slept therefore to kill Jeroboam. Verse 40. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. And Jeroboam arose and fled to Egypt unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. And the rest of this act, or the acts of Solomon, and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? And the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all of Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David, his father. And Rehoboam, his son, reigned in his stead. All right, family. So we learned some history about our nation. King Solomon went into idolatry. The Lord stirred up Hadad the Edomite against him, as well as Jeroboam, a son of one of his servants, and told him Jeroboam would then inherit 10 tribes from the nation, and those 10 tribes would be referred to as Israel, while the one tribe that Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, who took his place, would still reign in Jerusalem and be known as the house of Judah. So we have an Edomite conspiring against Israel, and we have a Israelite who is not from the line of Solomon, who would inherit rulership over the 10 tribes. All right, family, very important history. Very important that we distinguish the characters and the acts of our holy history. And then we proceed so that we may fortify this spiritual armor in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 1. A wise son hears his father's instruction, but a scorner hears not rebuke. A wise man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressor shall eat violence. He that keeps his mouth keeps his life, but he that opens wide his lips shall have destruction. The soul of the sluggard desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. A righteous man hates lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and comes to shame. Righteousness keeps him that is upright in the way, but the wickedness overthroweth the sinner. Verse 7, there is that maketh himself rich, yet has nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet he has great riches. The ransom of a man's life are his riches, but the poor hears not rebuke. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Only by pride comes contention, but with the well-advised he is wisdom. Verse 10, only by pride comes contention, but with Well advised is wisdom. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathers by labor shall increase. Hope defers, make the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. Whoso despises the word shall be destroyed, but he that fears the commandments shall be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Good understanding gives favor, but the way of the transgressor is hard. Every prudent man deals with knowledge, but a fool lays open his folly. A wicked messenger falls into mischief, but a faithful ambassador is health. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuses instruction, but he that regards reproof shall be honored. The desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, but it is abomination to fools to depart from evil. He that walks with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Evil pursues sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment. Verse 23, much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment. He that spares his rod hates his son, but he that loves him chastises him betimes. Verse 24, he that spares the rod hates his son, but he that loves him chastises him betimes. The righteous eats to the satisfying of his soul, but the belly of the wicked shall want. All right, family, those were those prefects of perfection of Proverbs as they prick our pineal all the way through to the pituitary. We now have a spiritual rod of righteousness sticking right out of the front of our cranial universes. So you can consider it the activation of the soul through an amazing spiritual acupuncture. Oh yes, and all praises. And we proceed again on our walk of wisdom to the book of the wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1. Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of God, and could not of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent water or the lights of heaven to be the gods which govern the world, with whose beauty, if they being delighted took them to be gods, let them know how much better the Lord of them is. For the first author of beauty has created them. But if they were astonished at the power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionably, the maker of them is seen. But yet, for this they are the less to be blamed, for they peradventure err, seeking God, and desirous to find him. For being conversant of his works, they search him diligently and believe their sight, because the things are beautiful that are seen. Howbeit neither are they to be pardoned. Verse 9. For if they were able to know so much, Verse 9, for if they were able to know so much that they could aim at the world, how did they not sooner find out the Lord thereof? But miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope, who call them gods, which are the works of men's hands, gold and silver, to show art in, and resemblances of beasts, or a stone good for nothing, the work of an ancient hand. Now a carpenter that felleth timber, after he hath sawn down a tree, meet for that purpose, and taking off all the bark skillfully round about, and has wrought it handsomely, and made a vessel thereof fit for the service of man's life. And after spending the refuse of his work to dress his meat, has filled himself, and taking the very refuse among those which serve to no use, being a crooked piece of wood and full of knots, have carved it diligently when he had nothing else to do, and formed it by the skill of his own understanding, and fashioned it to the image of a man. Verse 14, or made it like some vile beast, laying it over with vermilion, and with paint coloring it red, and covering every spot therein. And when he had made a convenient room for it, set it in a wall, and made it fast with iron. For he had provided for it that it might not fall, knowing that it was unable to help itself, for it is an image and has need of help. Then makes he prayers for his goods, for his wife and children, and is not ashamed to speak to that which has no life. For health he calls upon that which is weak. For life prays to that which is dead. For aid humbly beseeches that which has least means to help. And for a good journey he asks of that which cannot set a foot forward. Verse 19. And by gaining and getting, and for good success of his hands, ask ability to do of him that is most unable to do anything. Woo! Family, that was a quick, hard breakdown of idols. Images and articles that are fashioned by the hands of man, painted, colored, made of gold and silver, fashioned in some form of a man or beast or other image, pray to, but it can do nothing for you. It is dead and needs help and can't do anything. It is an idol. So y'all better check them crosses and them crescents and them stars and all that. Let's start to get our minds right. And we are proceeding on the expressway of elevation and excellence. And we are now in the book of Ecclesiasticus, of the apocryphal text, as well as the book of wisdom of Solomon. Get an apocryphal text, family, so we can have the fullness of the wisdom review. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 5, verse 1. Set your heart upon your goods, and say not, I have enough for life. Follow not your own mind and your strength to walk in the ways of your heart. And say not, who shall control me for my works? For the Lord will surely revenge your pride. Say not, I have sinned, and what harm has happened unto me? For the Lord is long suffering, and he will in no wise let you go. Concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin unto sin. And say not, his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. For mercy and wrath come from him, and his indignation rests upon sinners. Verse 7, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall come wrath of the Lord, and it will come forth, and in your security you shall be destroyed and perish in the days of vengeance. Set not your heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit you in the day of calamity. Winnow not with every wind, and go not into every way, for so does the sinner that has a double tongue. Be steadfast in your understanding, and let your word be the same. Be swift to hear, and let your life be sincere, and with patience give answer. If you have understanding, answer your neighbor. If not, lay your hand upon your mouth. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of man is his fall. Be not called a whisperer, and lie not in wait with your tongue. For a foul shame is upon the thief, and an evil condemnation upon the double tongue. Verse 15, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. All right, family, once again, the escalation of this excellence as we expand within our empathetic platforms by which we call a soul, within this crusty colonic carnal container, which we call a body. We know that the word is spirit. So your words are your spirit. Do not have a double tongue with your words or your spirit. All praises, family, for the ever increasing expansion as we dwell into the depths of these wisdoms of the holy righteousness and construction of the universe. Yes, this is love. This is truth. This is what we are to be doing in honor, reverence, and peace unto the holy power of all imagination and creation on his day of designation of holiness. And family, as we scurry about in the craziness and confusion of the land of Babylon, which we call America, Egypt, Sodom of the United States, we will put on the coat in this winter of the Spirit of these wisdoms of the word, and we shall proceed in honor, patience, and humility as we graciously await the return of the King Messiah, as we continue ourselves to define and refine our walks on the path of righteousness given to us as an example by the holy anointed Messiah, Savior, Redeemer, King of Israel, whom the word refers to as Jesus Christ, the word of the holy power of creation made flesh. The same word written on stone by the holy power creator's own finger and given to brother prophet Moses to present to the congregation, the true church, and the nation of Israel as a holy covenant to observe and to do, so that we may be deemed worthy to enter into the 12 gates of the kingdom of heaven on earth. Let it be done. So be it. And family, as you know, my continuous petition in prayer for your care and safety and harmony and security. And my brothers and sisters of the world, we will continue to grow in our increasing level of the identification of our actual identity, our actual heritage, the trueness of our scriptural status. And until we are together again, I love you. I love you. Family, I love you. Happy Holy Sabbath. Rest well. Do good. Be good. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verses 6 through 9. For we are a holy people unto the Lord our God. The Lord our God has chosen us to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon us, nor choose us because we were more in number than any people, for we were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved us, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn to our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has the Lord brought us out with a mighty hand and redeemed us out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord our God, he is God, the faithful God, which keeps covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. And to the scattered tribes, here is your promise of comfort. Book of John, chapter 3, verses 14 through 17, into Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 17. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Verse 17, for God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Isaiah 45:17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. You shall not be ashamed nor confounded. World without end.